All right, so the Blue Sharks of Cape Verde biting the Mamba. So it looks like the venom didn't exist in the mouths of the Mambas. Edwin, let me start off with you. It was a dominant performance from Cape Verde. I've been impressed with what I saw. I don't know what you make of. Did you expect this result? Cape Verde putting 3 past Mozambique.
Well, no. After seeing both sides in action in the first round of games, I expected it to be a much closer tie. Cape Verde, after beating us, they showed what they can do offensively. Mozambique also did the same against Egypt. And going into this game, I expected them to give it more of a fight. And it seemed that's how it was going to be in the early stages of the game. Mozambique were actually going boot for boot with Cape Verde, and it seemed like it will be a close game. However, Cape Verde took advantage of certain weaknesses in the Mozambique lineup, and then they just hit hard at them until Mozambique cracked. And once they did, the goals started flowing. First of all, that first goal, that was horrendous from the goalkeeper, Silwane. There's no other goalkeeper on this earth that's not saving that, apart from him. I understand that Bebe hit that with some power, and it had some curve on it. But in the end, it was right at him. And he didn't seem to push it hard enough away from the goal. And it ended up into the back of the net instead of going away from it. And once that goal went in, I think the heads dropped from Mozambique. Because once you concede such a goal, it's very demoralizing to you. So in the second half, you'd have expected them to come out stronger. And then the mistake happened, and they gave away the second goal. And basically, that was the end of the game. The mistake that Cape Verde picked up on, and we'll get into that in the video analysis section, was the fact that they picked up that Silwane was very uncomfortable from long-range strikes. Even though he might save a few, even though a few of them might go over, they were strikes that often caused him discomfort in goal. So if you realize in the first half, they kept hitting the ball from range anytime they were close to the goal. There was one strike that Silwane saved in the first half. Then Bebe's first effort from the free kick, which hits the crossbar. And then his third effort, which ended up in the back of the net. Even in the second half, they recycled that idea, kept firing from long range. And that, of course, is where the third goal came from. What this result does is it gives the Black Stars a bigger task to do. Going into the final round of games, Cape Verde basically have nothing to play for. They've qualified from the group. They've qualified top of the group. So in the final game against Egypt, they can afford to rest a lot of players, which you would expect Egypt to capitalize on and get all 3 points, which means possibly another one of the group spots for Ghana has been taken by Cape Verde and Egypt. Now, going into the game against Mozambique, who were battered by Cape Verde, you would think that this performance would give Ghana some hope. But we've seen teams play worse than Mozambique and play against the Black Stars and get victory. So I think it should get them a bit worried, a bit more worried, considering the fact that Mozambique still have a lot to play for. They haven't sealed qualification to the next round. They can put themselves within a good chance of making the next round if they get a good result against the Black Stars. So while it might be encouraging to see them lose 3-0 and lose in such a bad fashion, it shouldn't make the Black Stars too confident going into the final game.
I'm sure we'll discuss more on the Black Stars.
Yes.
We'll discuss a lot about them, the dynamics, what they must do, the mathematics and everything. So then just quick thoughts on this. You pointed out the mistake for the second. At this level, you can't be doing it.
You see, if you want to play from the back, your goalkeeper needs to have certain qualities.
Okay.
Equally, your defenders need to have certain qualities. Juxtapose this to a certain team we all know in a certain part of the world. They've bought a goalkeeper who is a ball-playing goalkeeper. But now he has a defense that do not play the ball, so it has rendered that particular feature of his game kind of obsolete. Same thing applies here. The defender is not comfortable with that kind of play from the back, and you want to play from the back. Now he has given the ball away. If you are a defender, you give the ball away, you should know that the next line of defense is the goalkeeper, and that's one thing when you shoot and then I try to save. He was playing as if someone owes him in the team, and he wants to use that as a form of repayment, because there's no way you need to give that away. If you cannot play from the back, balloon the ball and try to block in certain phases of play. You don't do this in football now. Look at the level of football that we are seeing at this AFCON. To have such mistakes and defensive blunders giving away goals, it's really appalling. And for the goalkeeper, I think he was figured out. And you hear the coach sit in a press conference and say he has figured out an opponent, but he has more holes in his team than trying to figure out someone else.
Wow.
And interestingly, Mozambique always try to play this kind of high-line football. They want to push out of defense. When they played against Egypt, he played a 4-back system. But in this particular one, he reverted to a kind of 5-back system, or 3 center-backs in this particular fixture. And we all saw that was basically their undoing. So going against the Black Stars, in as much as they would have figured out the Black Stars, they should know that the errors leading to goals in their team is the same as the Black Stars. Individual play has led to a lot of goals in their team as well. I mean, the Mozambicans as well as the Black Stars. So if they are saying they figured out the Black Stars, they need to figure out themselves as well, because that is horrendous defending. We don't do that.
We'll see how the Mozambicans will fare against Ghana later today. We'll talk more about that. And let's give you the next batch of highlights. First, Senegal and Cameroon. It was a very, very interesting tie. 2 big boys on the continent meeting there, and then Guinea taking on Gambia. So let's enjoy the 2 highlights, all of them coming in the same group. Senegal doing very well in that group. Let's see how those 4 teams involved in 2 matches from over the weekend. Let's see how those games played out. All right, interesting results. Senegal beating Cameroon by 3-1, and then Guinea doing a number on the Gambia. They won that game by 1-0. So now let me start off with you. I don't know which of the 2 games you want to talk about.
Well,
Senegal?
I want to go to Senegal, Cameroon. Last week, we were asked, and we said it, that this is not a big game. And it showed. The way everything played out showed. It shows that Senegal are doing something really interesting, and they are miles apart from Cameroon. Look at the golfing class. They were just literally toying with them, just passing the ball. Beautiful, delectable football. This is midfielders who want the ball because they know what to do with the ball. They are not scared of the ball, and they distribute the ball, make the ball work, and try to make Cameroon struggle to get hold of them. As for the goals and their goalkeeper, Onana, the least said about him together with his defenders, the better. The entire Cameroon team really need to get their acts together. I don't see them even going far in the tournament. For Senegal is a team that everybody needs to avoid in this tournament, because I used to say that Egypt was my tip for the tournament, but I've switched it. Senegal are retaining.
You think Senegal have what it takes to defend their title?
Not only that, but the key thing here is their mindset. They've got the right mindset. They come into this thinking they are the best in Africa. Morocco can be the best ranked team in Africa now, but to them, in their minds, they are the best. And look at how they play. Oh, come on. Come on. And they are blending the youthful exuberance with the experience that people seek to talk about brilliantly. And it looks like playing in the Gulf has rather gotten some of their players rather well.
I see.
For this tournament.
Interesting. And it makes you look at them, to borrow Shakespeare's term, green with envy.
Sergi got it absolutely right with his description of Senegal's team as a blend between youthful exuberance and experience. What I think they've got right is they've discovered the core of their team, and they've built upon that core with players that complement those core. That core. You have Edouard Mendy in goal. You have Kalidou Koulibaly at the back. in midfield where you'd ordinarily have Idrissa Gana Gueye, there's a young boy who is developing and becoming a star in Lamine Camara.
Yeah.
Up front, you have Sadio Mane just leading the line along with Diallo and the other players. And once you have that core, once you have a good player in each position, you can add to them and just complement them, make them better. And that's what Senegal have done. He talked about the wonderful play, and I completely agree. I watched that game, and some of the play, it just blew me away. The one-touch passing, the quick transitions from defense to attack, the way they were able to beat Cameroon's press whenever Cameroon decided to press. It was so impressive, and there's no doubt that Senegal are Africa's best team at the moment, based on how they play. And the goals they scored were absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, very good.
I'd like to point out the final goal. The way...
Sadio Mane, the cutback.
Yeah, even before that, the way Nicholas Jackson, who was on the bench anyway, the way he controlled the ball and held that play, allowing his teammates to move. And the understanding between his teammates, especially Idrissa Gana Gueye, who made the run on the outside and received the ball, that just blew me away. And for Sadio Mane, and that is what we talk about with wingers, proper wingers, they know when to move into the box to add to the attacking threats. They know when to hug the touchline and spread play. And he picked the former option by moving into the box and finishing that off. I think there's so much to this Senegal team, defensively, offensively, in midfield. There seems to be no way to counter their play. I was even predicting that they'd win the final match 3-0 because that's how good they are, even though they are going to come up against Guinea. There's so much variety to the goals they score, variety to the attack, and there's this strength to their defense that I don't see with any other team in the competition. But Cameroon have themselves to play. That's it. Cameroon have themselves to play. Yeah. At 2-1, they had about 3 chances, 3 clear-cut chances to level. Yeah. And Nkudu, who had the best of those chances, missed them. I'm sure it will be eating at him since that
because it was the third goal was a consequence of the other missed chance.
Exactly.
From that start or that sequence led from the goal kick eventually.
Exactly. And the third goal. He'll be beating himself because those were clear-cut chances. You put that away, you put yourself back into contention, you put yourself level, and the game is wide open again. But once he missed that chance and Senegal got the third goal, it was all over. I have already tipped Senegal as the winners of this competition. I expect them to win it again because of how good they are. And it will take something special from any of the other teams to prevent that from happening.
All right, we'll see if Senegal can go all the way and win the AFCON again. Remember, they are defending champions, and a lot of the people think, including my guests, they think that Senegal have got what it takes to go and defend their title. All righty, let's move on to some of the other games from the weekend. The goal-heavy games, those were the ones that I liked. Let's start off with that Algeria-Burkina Faso game, madness all over, and then the Mauritania-Angola game, which served its own brand of exciting football, featuring one, you can say West African, maybe not, maybe Sahelian team against a Southern African team. So let's enjoy these 2 highlights, Algeria, Burkina Faso, and Angola versus Mauritania. Wow, exciting things happening. 9 goals in those 2 games we showed you. 4 shared between Algeria and Burkina Faso, and Angola winning by the odd goal in 5 to edge Mauritania. High quality stuff, high quality goals in those games. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, I'll get my guys to dissect some of those goals, some of those plays, and then we'll move on to other things in the program. This is the AFCON Daily Show. We'll take a very quick break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Kwao. My guests, Edwin Kwakofi and Sednam Edmond. We've just looked at the crazy highlights really between Algeria, Burkina Faso, and then Angola and Mauritania. Guys, those were interesting games, end to end. The goals were just flowing.
And not just the number of goals, but the quality of goals that were scored by all the teams in those games. And you look at some of those goals, and you think that you feel sorry for the defenders, because there's basically nothing you can do to defend against some of those strikes, especially the one the final one in the Mauritania.
Oh, that was good.
That was a
That
brilliant
was
strike
good.
from range. But what it does is it makes the competition much more interesting. You find Algeria, who expected to come into this competition and dominate at least the teams in their group, they are struggling to make it through.
And I
It's
find
two
that
draws
it
in a
still
row.
beats my mind how Algeria is struggling. They haven't locked down a win. They've played 2 draws. I don't know what's happened.
But I think the goals are coming for Algeria, but the chances are not coming at a rate enough for them to get enough goals to win those games. And obviously, their star player in the tournament is not playing to his level. Riyad Mahrez.
The star man is Baghdad Bounedjah.
Yeah, in this tournament, Baghdad Bounedjah has been the star man. And deservedly so. I think some of his touches, some of his play up front, it's almost like he's carrying the team on his shoulders. There are some balls over the top that you wouldn't dream a striker would take down and challenge defenders for. But then you find him beating those defenders and getting into chance creating spaces. And I feel that if he continues playing this way, if Algeria's other key players step up, if Belaili steps up, if Riyad Mahrez steps up, there's a huge chance Algeria might pick up form and get out of this group. But with the way things are doing, I don't think they can rely on Baghdad.
He scored all their goals, right?
He scored all their goals so far.
They have 3 goals. He scored all 3.
And he might have scored 4 if it went for VAR because you remember that
bicycle
wonderful
kick, yeah.
bicycle kick. And he's also been at the heart of their creation of chances. I remember one chance in the game against Burkina Faso where he backheeled it into his teammate's path. Unfortunately, there was a good tackle from the defender, which led to the chance being missed. But he is the heart of the team right now. But they need a few more hearts to step up and start beating if they are to get somewhere in this competition. For Angola and Mauritania, I was very disappointed for Mauritania. They showed a lot of good play in the previous game against Burkina Faso, showed a lot of persistence in this one against Angola. Unfortunately, the chances they created, a lot of them were not taking. The ones they took were brilliant.
That was I was about to ask Edna whether he thought it was a lack of quality or experience that cost Mauritania.
Well, I feel it's lack of experience.
Experience,
yes.
So Edwin, you talked about a lack of quality
and
you say a lack of experience.
Lack of experience, because if you are much more experienced, you know that some of those plays, they took extra touches which were not needed. But the rest was shooting practice, and they proved that they had been doing a lot on the training pitch, getting it right.
Their second goal. But that first goal was really good. The individual run to dribble pass for 4 points.
I
think that's their first goal from open play,
yes.
at the AFCON. What a way to score it. Beat, I think, 4 men.
4 men, yeah.
And score a brilliant classic. I envy those who are going to be picking goal of the tournament.
So far, it's proven to be really tough.
Yeah.
I really envy them.
Because Koita is even in the shout.
Yes.
Yeah.
The second goal long range was good.
Mohamed Kudus,
Mohamed Kudus.
Bebe's
goal was good. Baghdad Bounedjah's first goal.
Yes. And
even among the 3 of us, we are trying to
I think even Sekou Fofana.
Cape Verde's third goal.
We're forgetting Lamine Camara, which I think
should
win.
Wow, interesting stuff.
I think in this tournament in particular, obviously we've always had individual brilliance mixing in with coming in at the AFCON, coming in clutch at the AFCON. But there's been a gradual shift to a focus on team play. So it's good to see that there's still that individual brilliance that can light up games and light up the AFCON, because that's what we do. That's what we do. That's the talent we have.
It's African football.
Yeah.
It is African football. All right, let's move on. Let's have a look at some other games. Let's see the highlights between Tunisia and Mali, and then Morocco and DR Congo. All right, interesting games there. So both of them involving North African teams. The games ended in a draw. Before I even get to my guys for their quick thoughts, the AFCON Daily Show is probably brought to us by our very good friends at Bet Power. If you want the best odds, the biggest payouts, and lovely games, if you are a punter, Bet Power. Bet Power is the company that you need to be friends with. That's why they are sponsoring this show. So we thank BetPower for coming on board. They've made all of these things possible. So thank you, BetPower, for sponsoring the show. Guys, quick comments on that 2-1 all draws, both involving North African teams.
Well, I would like to pick on the Tunisian game, Tunisia-Mali. I expected much more from Tunisia because the first game they lost to Namibia, and in this particular game, they didn't show anything worthy of the name they carry for themselves. But going into their final game, if they don't step up, they would go
That's
home.
against Namibia. No, they've played Namibia. Right? That's against South Africa.
Yes, they need to step up. If not, they'll go home. It's that simple, because I don't understand the kind of things they are doing. And now it's becoming evident why the fans back home don't like the coach. It's becoming very, very evident. So, and he's one coach that I've predicted that he will lose his job. So
it doesn't matter what happens to Tunisia, you feel he'll lose, or you think that he's on his way to losing his job?
He is on his way out. They need to be getting his severance package ready. Because this performance from Tunisia, goalkeeping error, defensive error, they are all over the place.
It's a very, very odd-looking North African team.
For Morocco, I think they are lucky they won the first game against Tanzania. I thought they were not impressive in that game. They got an early goal, which was fine. But Tanzania were let back into the game. And it
DRC,
seemed...
you mean?
I'm talking about the first game. Tanzania were let back into the game until they got a red card, which allowed Morocco to take over. In this game against DRC...
It was 11v11.
It was 11v11. They took the lead again, which was fine. But then they let DRC back into it in that first half. And DRC could have taken the lead, gone equal, and then taken the lead. They missed the penalty. Cedric Bakambu, very, very strange of him to miss that penalty. But they didn't let their heads drop. And in the second half, they came out very feisty, fought for every 50-50 ball, fought for every challenge. And eventually, they got their reward in the equalizer. I felt they were unlucky to come out of this game without all 3 points. And Morocco need to count their stars, because 4 points all but guarantees their spot in the next round, going into their final game. And I think that win over Tanzania, they'll look back on it and be patting themselves on the back that they took advantage of that red card and got a huge victory.
All right. The story that a lot of people are not talking about was the afters following the final. Chaos all over as technical bench versus technical bench, player on player, coach on coach. It was an absolute mess, that melee that happened. I'm sure we'll hear from CAF in subsequent days as to what will happen to it, because we already know that I think the Tanzanian head coach has been punished for some comments I think he made. So
he passed comments in the light that CAF and Morocco were in sort of a clique to kind of rob them. That was the kind of comment he passed at the presser, and he was given a ban. And subsequently, the Tanzanian FA have also done justice to him.
Wow, interesting. So consequences, watch what you say during an AFCON competition. All right, let's get the final batch of highlights. Let's get that game involving Tanzania and Zambia, and then South Africa versus Namibia. That was the game I was looking forward to in the group stages. Well, it didn't disappoint from a South African perspective. They won heavily against Namibia. Let's enjoy the highlights.